How are you guys? So I'm here with Dr. Nathan Bridger, the Life Beast. So Nate's been my chiropractor for maybe 3 to 4 years now, and we've also had a working relationship where you've looked after some of my clients, and we kind of correspond in that sense. So
absolutely.
Obviously we've got the physique coaching apprenticeship coming up in May, and I'm putting together a crew, with some other really cool names like Scotty Goebel, James Kant, Luke Tulloch, Rawdon Dubois, Lana Pooley, Kevin Ellis, like the list goes on. And I've basically put together people that I think, I want to be a part of it because they are really good at their craft, and they also put across some really good content. So to get this interview underway, tell us a little bit about your career so far, and I guess how you've gotten to where you are.
All right, no problem. So I've been a chiropractor now for 5 years, originally studied over in Western Australia, and then quickly after graduating, got into the workforce obviously, and was figuring out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the people I liked working with most were the people who like to train, take care of themselves, people who really enjoy the things I enjoy. I started in gyms. We actually lied about my age because I was a bit of a fat kid. My mum told them I was 15 when I was 13. I started punching weights from about that age, and it just never stopped. And it went from, your bodybuilding style training, your powerlifting style training. There was some CrossFit in there. There's been some strongman.
Yeah.
There's 15 years of rugby in there as well. And those are kind of the people that I really connect with, but like to work with.
Yeah.
And so for a little bit in that time, I actually went over to South America and worked in the communities there, worked with a lot of the athletes over there. And in that area, I really realized how much I could provide, but even the health professionals could provide to these kind of people.
Yeah.
Because particularly in a country like that, they don't have education, they don't have information. And unfortunately, sometimes we almost have the opposite in Australia. We have too much too much of the wrong stuff. So I really dialed into a lot of the communities there and was educating them more than just trying to keep them fixed up and working properly. And when I got back to Australia, connecting with people like yourself, I've just sort of tried to dial and refine that craft. So it's not just about getting an athlete feeling good, stopping their back hurting. It's about making them more efficient, more powerful, getting more, better PRs, bigger lifts, looking better on stage rather than just simply the basics.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us a little bit about some of the athletes that you're currently working with now. So like the different types of, like I said, the different types of athletes that you actually get coming through.
Well, you get that whole spectrum. Now, just because I work with athletes doesn't mean I only work with athletes. I work from everyone from kids to the geriatrics, but the specific sort of elite level that I work with, a lot of your like contact sport, AFL, rugby type style in terms of team sport. But then when we go to your more like individual sport, definitely bodybuilding, powerlifting, and probably strongman CrossFit.
Yeah.
And each one of those is a different bracket. There's of course similarities with all those athletes. They're all lifting weights and moving things around, but the goal's completely different. So their care needs to be different as well.
Yeah, cool. So this is a question I've asked all the presenters in the physique coaching apprenticeship. What's the biggest thing you've learnt along the way? So like, everyone's had some similar answers and some, obviously there's a little bit of difference in the actual answer as well. So, what's it for you?
It's probably cliche, but like, don't be closed. So, the way I did things 5 years ago when I walked out of uni and today are diametrically opposed. There's things that I did then that we now know aren't as effective or maybe even didn't help. Yeah. And so I got rid of them. I don't just cling to stuff because I was good at it or because I thought it was good. I've learned to upgrade and change. And you look at the latest research. You also look at what you're seeing in front of you in the office, 100%. And you put that all together. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the person in front of me and them getting what they need. Yeah,
100%. So, look, I think this is a big one, right? Yeah. And obviously, when we talk about lifting weights, competition prep, even into some of your other sports as well. But we'll focus on kind of the physique realm at the moment.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it's a lot of stress on the body, all right? So it's a lot of, what's one of the biggest pieces of advice you could give coaches out there to help people, clients who are going through a competition prep or you're lifting weights regularly, deal with that stress and kind of almost prevent injury?
Yeah. Well, there's two folds on this. One part of it is the simple, I think we talked about this a bit earlier off camera, is going back to basics, When you get lost in things, when you're stressed, it's really easy to look for the 1%ers But as Michael Jordan always said, go back to basics. Are you drinking water? Are you sleeping? These kind of things. Because if those aren't being handled, taking X supplement or doing X thing, it's not going to help. And you're not going to get the results. So you've really got to focus in on the stuff we know that works. But especially for your coaches that are looking after these physique style athletes, they really need to make sure they're thinking outside the box and they're doing more than just simply looking at their athlete in the gym and what they're eating, you know? Is there another team associated with them, whether it maybe it's chiro, physio, osteo, whatever that might be? Are they seeing, you know, some people need psychological help, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I'm talking mindset, this kind of stuff. Like, using a team of people in your prep for your athletes is only going to make you better. These people aren't going to steal people away from you. And if you're thinking that way, it's a concern.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about a bit more about, obviously symmetry is something that's massive in bodybuilding and especially in the physique competition. So let's talk about obviously how we can prevent asymmetries and also how we can deal with them and what kind of, who should we send these people to and I guess some just advice on that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, physique training is very unique because we want to prevent these asymmetries because it's what you're going to get judged very heavily on the stage for. We also need, you know, good muscle. We want that time under tension, that bulking. And so we often miss full range of motion and a lot of things to get that. But doing that creates underactivation in things like shoulders. So we often see the inability for people to fire their subscap, their teres minor, which stabilizes the shoulder. And what we see as the byproduct of that is that really rolled forward, that overpronunciation of the lat. But the lat doesn't look good either. It looks really asymmetrical because it doesn't have that underpinning on it. The other thing, and we've talked about this one a lot, is you see a lot of people, you know, we use deadlifts repeatedly. It's a beautiful movement. It's one of the best there is for stopping back pain, for training, for everything. But people love to switch grip and they always want to go the same side, which is going to create torsional effects through the abdomen, through the low body. And so as a coach, you've got to be looking for these things, you know. Is being able to pull an extra 20 kilos worth the potential asymmetrical change? So using things like wraps and stuff like that, being smart about your training rather than just trying to flog people. And then if there are these problems, understanding how to train them out. Can you just train it out? One of the things that people seem to forget is you can do more work on one side compared to another. You know, if you've got an asymmetry or a dysfunction that you're not as powerful through that rhomboid stabilization right to left, you might hit 10 reps 100%. On the right and 6 on the left. That is okay. But it seems to be a mind-blowing idea to people. Or you can have, again, I'm diving deep, but you can be creating resistance through torsions or something like a Pavlov press where you're holding resistance from a rotary force through the trunk, but you're actually pressing straight out to create that kind of rehabilitation but protection to the body at the same time. In terms of who you're looking for, well, it has to come to what the athlete wants, of course, but also the good people you know in the area, you know. Not all people, I'll be the first to admit, practicing chiropractic the way I do. Not all physios are doing what we're doing. Not all massage therapists, you know, but there are a lot of really amazing people that may not be suitable for one, but are suitable for this athlete. So athlete preference and knowing somebody in your area that is working with your industry that can help with these things.
100%. So, you know, we went up and I was up yesterday talking with Rawdon up in Sydney and James Kahn as well. And we were talking about, like, when we're talking about posing. Right? So posing something that's massive, obviously, in physique coaching, and, you know, that can almost win you a show.
Absolutely.
If, you know, if you get two people who have the same body and one pose is better than the other, he wins the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of Rawdon's guys actually was too tight through his abdomen, and he couldn't open up enough, and that's going to make his back look better. So obviously we talk about what we just said, asymmetries, posture abnormalities, all of these things, although they're probably one of the big things that are overlooked in a sense when, you know, through someone who is coaching someone, right? You know, like if you've got a physique coach, what's the first thing they do? Programming, nutrition, supplementation. It's like, well, that's all good and well, but if you can't get this person performing and showing their body as best possible on stage, then you know, it could cost them in the show.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about mechanics now and how important mechanics is in hypertrophy and kind of throughout the body.
Absolutely. So I mean, listen, I'm not going to deep dive because we could be here for about 47 hours, but it's essential. You know, foundationally as a coach, you can make the best program possible, but if your athlete can't actually do the stuff or do it efficiently and effectively, well then you're not a coach. You're just someone who can write a program and hand it to them. And I can get that for $15 off any Instagram person with fit after their name. So if you're actually a coach, the first thing you should do is be checking that person's posture and mechanics. So posture will give you a very good idea instantly in terms of how they're loading different parts of their body, which is going to give you a real quick hint into what they can and can't do. So, you know, if you've got someone who's deadlifting but is, you know, pulling the bar out from the body, so they're wasting energy pulling it back through, it's creating that forward momentum shift, which is going to overstrain the lumbar disc and potentially injure them, well, suddenly a deadlift becomes a negative thing. By the same token though, if you've got someone who has efficient mechanics through it, you can start to play around with it. And, you know, we can play with all the different things if someone can do the basics, and we say it again, the basics right. Can you squat basics easy? Great. Now we can start to play with bottom up, pause reps, 1.5s, all these other things. But it all comes back to the simple fact, how are their mechanics? If it's not good, well, there's no point in going forward. You know, it's like running when you can't even walk or crawl.
Yeah, and I think obviously when you, as a coach personally, like, and you know, I'm sure all the other coaches would say this as well, when you're writing a program for someone, you want it done a specific way.
Absolutely.
Now, if this person can't mechanically actually retract their scapulas enough to get a good contraction, then their back development will not be what you want it to be. So
and these are the people that will do what you tell them to do, and you'll be like, you're not doing it. And they're like, I am doing it. And the simple fact is, they are doing it, but they're not doing what they should be doing.
So there's obviously a massive importance on mechanics when we talk about hypertrophy, growing muscle, making the physique look the way we actually want it.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest piece of advice you'd give a physique coach now from your perspective and where you come from in the industry?
For me, like, if you want to be an elite coach, you need an elite team with you, similar to what you're setting up right here. One of the first things you should do, and if you don't feel confident in doing it, have that network that they can do it. When that person walks through your door, they want your help, whether they're an amateur or they're someone who's quite elite already and they want to go further, stop, go back to the basics, get them evaluated, 100%. Because then you're working with all the information. You know, like if you're working with only part of it, it's like trying to tell someone to do something in the dark, you know? It's kind of a hit and hope situation. Like, don't be afraid to use other people. You know, there's this real desperation mindset that stops people getting help, like it's their ego and all this other thing. Get help, set it up right. That other person doesn't do what you do, but they do something else real good. So use that, make yourself more efficient, learn more, and then you're going to create this program and get the results, and it's going to catapult you forward, you know? Don't be limited.
So one of the main reasons that I'm actually doing the physique coaching apprenticeship is because obviously there's a lot of cookie cutters out there, right? So now in every single person who's presenting, they are targeting a different kind of topic within what we're talking about, and you have to understand the principles behind what's going on in the body. You can't just apply something or apply what was applied to you. Now, and that's probably the one thing that's coming out of interviewing everyone is you, as a coach, and you have to actually understand what's going on with your client. So that then, because if you don't know what's going on and something doesn't work, you have nowhere to go, and they're paying you for for what they're doing.
You have no right to be taking their money if you're not doing the right thing.
And that kind of, that's almost what I believe separates the elite coaches that can actually charge a premium, or the people, you know, like yourself, a really good chiropractor who's busy, to those that are mediocre. And you know, we were talking about it yesterday, there's so much stuff on marketing these days for PTs, and that's all good and well. Like, you know, that'll get you so far, but you have to be good at what you do. You have to be open to becoming an expert.
You can have all the people coming through the door, but if you can't get the result, what's the point?
100%. So I'm going to wrap it up there, mate. Been really good to have a chat about all things in the physique realm and the fitness industry in general. So Nath will be presenting at the 2018 Physique Coaching Apprenticeship, which is coming up in May. So he'll be presenting next to some names that I've already mentioned today. I'm going to do it again just because it's such an awesome crew. James Cant, Scott Goebel, Luke Tulloch, Kevin Ellis, James Hepburn's touching base on marketing, even though I just too much marketing, but you know, it's still important. How to attract a good audience. You know, Alana Pooley. Again, the list goes on. So if you are interested, please click the link. All right, because the thing is, right, we need you to book in for a strategy call.
Yeah.
Because we are only taking 30 people into the program, and the reason is because we want people to take as much as they can out of this. All right, so we need people that are, you know, super motivated and actually want to get these results with your clients.
Yeah.
All right, so click the link below, register your interest, and book in a strategy call, and we can go from there.
Thanks for having me, mate. Look forward to chatting to everybody soon.
Thanks, guys. See ya.